Okay, so recording started. So welcome to this bi-weekly community meeting. Now I might do it weekly after this, but for now, I just had this realization. And basically, let me see if, yeah, I think we had this opening. So welcome, quick check-in, confirm agenda. And the intention is explore how our membership system is working and how it could improve. Um, yeah, so what are the things to go over here? Let's see. So the second thing will be the current reality overview. The third one is Arcos membership states model. Fourth one is proposal presentation and clarifying questions at the end. And then an open discussion, next steps, closing. Huh. Okay, so, well, basically, I've been kind of looking and thinking about stuff like the last week we had some meetings before Thursday. I guess it was, yeah, it was also last Sunday. And Nick was discussing like, oh, there were any members, and uh I don't know, wasn't somehow able to discuss much for some reason. But anyway, I just realized that right now, according to the bylaws, someone has to live here for 6 months before they can be considered for membership. Um, and actually, the only person that is a member that I know is basically myself. So all these other owners, there's about 40 owners, and they're all just owners, but there's really just me that's an owner and a member. So there's a process, and I looked back, I actually found the meeting as well. So the process included like watching Consensus 101 video and then uh, filling out like a questionnaire kind of quiz. And then with that, you can then request in the next community meeting for people to kind of approve or deny. And I found the actual meeting where I was, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, November 14, 2019. And it says Boris membership has been here for more than 6 months, passed the consensus test. Peter read a list of hard and soft expectation for proposal or prospective community members, and the motion passed. Boris is officially approved as a FH1 community member. So it is FH1 specific. So I don't think there's been anybody talking about any other membership states in other communities. So maybe, yeah, this is kind of what we want to talk about. So maybe what we ought to do, let's see, I have this. So I'd like to propose reducing the residency requirement from 6 months to 3 months cumulative before someone can be considered for membership. And then this doesn't change the standard. Uh, People still need to contribute, align with the community, pass a consensus decision. And it's good to maybe watch the consensus video and have a quiz. And then, yeah, so the goal is to grow participation, bring in more voices, make the system actually function as intended. So right now the barrier is too high for current stage of the community. This is about adapting the bylaws to our reality while keeping the same values and safeguards in place. This is a text I'm reading just that was written by ChatGPT, and I think it kind of makes sense. Um, okay, so far, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, that sounds really good. Yeah, why shouldn't you keep the ones you have and reduce the number of months? I think that all sounds pretty solid. Also, the onboarding process sounds pretty good to me. I have no objections. I have,
Sounds good.
yeah, I think it's good to proceed. The only thing I would do structurally, keep these things kind of separate. So create two proposals. One is for the membership states themselves. So the thing that we were working on. Maybe mention the onboarding process. We can also mention there the 6 months currently, and then create another proposal for reducing the trial time, and maybe even another one to define again the membership, the onboarding process. So there's a separation of things that makes it maybe easier to pass certain things. So that prevents, for example, that if someone does really object with the 3 months, then it doesn't block the other ones, the other proposals. So it's just as a structural separation. That's my only recommendation, but the rest
Do you
sounds
think?
really good, and we could proceed with this if you like.
Yeah, sounds like you're thinking kind of make the membership state proposal initially. Now, the reason I think to kind of include this, because maybe the proposal would actually make sense if people realize actually nobody is a member because except for me. So it's like, well, if I'm the only member, am I the only one making decisions? Obviously not, because people have their own communities and their own budgets or whatever in each property. But as it stands, there are no members, so it's kind of like a memberless community in a way. So maybe proposing that we have the membership states initially, and then maybe what we could say is that seeing how the membership was for FH1, we can make a kind of global, let's say, or overall or general FH, so it doesn't have a number, it's just FA Haven membership. And I was thinking, so we have the questionnaires currently for trustees or owners, and then we have a questionnaire for volunteers or visitors, but we don't have a membership questionnaire. So I wonder if we should have something there, and maybe that's for later, I guess. But if we have this residency requirement, then we have a consensus um, test. So understanding what is consensus, that's good. And then maybe we can, maybe again that's for later, but talk about how the minimal sociocracy works, because people can't block decisions if they just don't like it. That's a very good and very powerful thing that we should include. And then maybe a final thing that I would like, it doesn't have to be, that could be later on, but something with nonviolent communication, because we find that very powerful as well. Just a sec, there's a boat going by here.
Awesome. Okay, so if I understand you correctly, you would like to create this onboarding, like this, let's call it transition process from being a trial member to a full member. You would like to add this entire process to the current proposal for membership states?
Yeah, I think actually it should be in the application stage. So if someone is applying, they should to become a member. That's different than applying to buy land and applying to volunteer or to be a guest. So I think we basically need to come up with a new application, and it will include like the consensus 101, explanation about maybe minimal sociocracy, external, something maybe Wikipedia or whatever, something that is like explained, because the consensus 101 videos on YouTube, I forget the name of the guy, but so that was a good video. And then there was a quiz that actually Peter made. I don't know if I still have it, but there was also a quiz that's already part of that video, like in the video.
Okay, but I'm a tiny bit confused. Maybe you can help me. So you're talking now about applicants. but we also have the trial members and we have the full members. So to who would you give these video materials and the test?
I think the applicants are supposed to do, yeah, if they're applying, well, actually, yeah, it's a good question. Like, were you applying and then the trial phase is, let's say 3 months. I think that, well, I mean, this could be discussed in, when there's more people available, but let's say the application will be, applying to become a Fruit Haven member. What are the requirements to pass the consensus quiz? To know that what is consensus, like what I did. So I passed the consensus test. I stayed for 6 months. So, and it doesn't have to be consecutive. Like I think I stayed 3 months and then another 3 months. It can be, so that basically what we'll propose maybe as part of, maybe it should be a part of the proposal to make it sort of simple. I don't know, but then yeah, if people start denying it because of that, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a good question because maybe what we need to say, look, right now the only member is Boris. Everyone else is an owner but not a member, and so we would like members. And so another idea, what you talked about, why we have low attendance before we recorded the meeting. Maybe we can even add that they must attend or somehow be present and active in the meetings, because otherwise it's like, well, if it's just me and you talking, then we need more people to be present in the meetings. And then maybe we'll have like a group of members that make certain decisions, that discuss certain things, as opposed to like owners. The owners, maybe a lot of them aren't interested for whatever reason. Maybe they invested, they want to sell, maybe they kind of, yeah. So it's like two separate things. One is a membership state and an attribute of the owner. Now, owners, like we talked already a bunch of times, they may not be interested in various topics like this.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, that's really good. I like it. And yeah, if I can suggest something, I think it would make most sense to get this onboarding process that we were talking about. So the videos about consensus and consent and the quizzes and so on. I think that makes most sense to do as a trial member. And I would separate it. I would mention it in the current proposal, but I would separate it and create another proposal to have a clear separation of these things, because they are different. They are going more in detail about the process. Like one is the definition of the states. This is the current proposal we have. We mentioned transitions, but the concrete transition protocol, we can call it also, that would be a different proposal, which is also great. We also need that. That's very important as well, I think, to be very clear about how to become a full member. Yeah, and one of the requirements you mentioned would be going through all of this info material to learn, maybe also this information material about nonviolent communication. That's really great. And I would make it a requirement for becoming a member, because as a trial member, you're still figuring things out, if you like it or not. Like that's more the focus. And if you like it, you need this requirement to become a member. I think that makes, for me at least, personally, most sense. But of course, you're free to decide how you like it.
Yeah, I think I'm fine with that as long as we have them in the status. Like, say they make it a simpler application, or maybe, well, I don't know, maybe it's the same as a volunteer guest, but I think it should be somehow different because yeah, it's like a different purpose. Like they're not coming, necessarily. They're just applying, and then maybe, yeah, we'll think of like all the details. Like, say in the next year, you should at least visit at some point. Like maybe people can apply online, and they don't have to be owners. But now, also, what we should think about is what to do for the current owners. Like, let's say there's okay, let's see, the people that are active recently, Rob and Nick. Maybe they want to be members, but they are not members, so they still should go through this application process, but maybe, you know, they already spent enough time on the ground. Like Rob said, well, I only visited like a few, you know, weeks or a month or whatever, but he visited multiple times. So maybe we're just not going to worry about the exact, like, okay, did you actually complete, you know, 90 days or not? It doesn't matter at that point. But Niku, obviously, he's been here long enough to, he's been here at least, you know, the last year, more than 6 months or whatever. So that's, but then they still have to apply, and then they kind of maybe during the trial membership, as you say, they could be um, doing the consensus test and the other stuff, and then who would decide? So then I guess I'm the only member currently, but maybe we'd still have you know, just an email to whoever the owners at this point, and see if they have anything to reject. Now, if they do reject, like say they don't like somebody, whatever, and they're like, no, we don't want them to be a member, but they aren't a member, so then that could kind of cause some confusion. But I don't know. Maybe we'll get to that later. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds great. And Nick also joined the meeting, I see. That's great.
Hey guys.
Hello, Nick.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, yeah.
Good,
So
Okay, so where are you at?
well, I went through, and it's already recording this part, so I don't know if we should do it again, because I will post this part.
Just keep going. I'll listen back to it.
Okay. But yeah, actually, it would be good to get your input. So, for example, right now, what we're discussing is so the applicant, so the current bylaws, they were 6 months residency, and then you become a membership. That's kind of specific to FH1. And then we were discussing, remember, yeah, the last few times already, that we can reduce it to maybe 3 months residency. And it sounds like we should have like a separate application, which we don't have right now, because we have one for the trustees and one for visitors, but we don't have one for memberships. And I guess it never existed before either. Like when I was, so I looked back and I found the meeting. It was actually November 14, 2019. And basically I had 6 months already passed that I was cumulative. It's always been cumulative. And then I passed the consensus test. So watching Consensus 101, filled out the quiz. Then Peter reads a list of hard and soft expectations for community members, and then the motion is passed, and I officially became the FH1 member. So really, if we look at all the current owners, there are no members except for me. So right now, I'm the only member at FH1, and everyone else is just owner. So if we propose and say, look, there are no members, we want to make this new states, and I think that would be easier for people to accept. They could say, okay, it makes sense, and maybe we can reduce it to 3 months. And for people that even visited like a bunch of times already, like Rob Renmark, maybe we don't have to count the exact amount of days. It's just a suggestion, maybe. And then we need, yeah, go on.
You mean you became a member? Sorry, you became what was the state? It was called resident, community. No, community.
Yeah, resident. After volunteer, you become resident and then a member. That was the previous system.
So community member. Okay, so this is the what was defined at Fruhaven at the time.
Yeah.
So you essentially became the community member before you became an owner, before you bought land.
That's right, yeah. Back then, and actually I guess it still is separate as it is now too, because we have owner as an attribute. It's not a status or a state or whatever. So that way, if we introduce this idea to the owners and say, well, you can become a member, we want to make it easier because there's only one member right now. So what do we do to make it easier? and maybe we could go from there and then show the different states like applicant, trial member, full member, exited member, and external.
So basically, we don't have it defined, right? That when a person buys land, they become automatically a member, right? That's not defined.
No, we don't.
Or is it?
It's not automatic. It's not automatic because there are no members. So those are two separate things. And we can keep it that way, but we can just remind people this, yeah, we don't have members because it's a separate thing from owners, and maybe some owners would like to become members, and we can give that opportunity. Let's say like reducing from 6 months to 3 months, and yeah, finding another system that will work.
Okay, interesting. So because in that documentation, in the 2019 document there, it writes it like it like outlines the state what it is, and I think it was made for people that aren't owners. It's just made for people that are like living at Fruhaven long term without becoming owners, right?
But it didn't say whether an owner or not, because some way halfway through, I think I did become an owner actually by the time, yeah, November. By that time, I think I was already an owner because I bought early, like January, February 2019.
Okay. So and even though you became an owner, you still went through the membership process?
Yeah, that's right, because yeah, those are kind of separate things.
Okay. Well, that's interesting. So, what would be the suggestion? The suggestion is like, let's say the the owners that are residing here, they can kind of like what else is there other than the residing time? There's a consensus.
Yeah, watching a consensus video, and then filling out the quiz, and then also in a meeting. So it was like you had to request in a meeting to say like, look, I've been here for this month, 6 months, and I completed the test. If the test was correct, and then it would pass through the meeting, and people would vote, say agree or disagree or whatever, accept or decline or stand aside, and if there's a consensus -1, I think it was. But we can change that to do the minimal sociocracy, which I like. That's a good idea. It's like, is it dangerous? We can't just say I don't like it or whatever, because maybe someone might say, oh, I just don't like this person. Well, is it dangerous? So then it's a different reason to decline somebody's membership, for example. And then what other thing? There's a few other things we can add into that. For example, watching or doing something with NVC, and then attending meetings, obviously, at least online. So yeah, that's something. And then we would have a small group of members that would kind of make more sense, rather than these owners that we constantly try to communicate and they don't communicate, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, no, it does make sense. It does become more interesting. I'm just wondering, like, ideally, in my opinion, it would be to keep the things as we have them, because that kind of gives us legitimacy, because like everything's already like inscribed, and try to operate within that framework before we try to add anything or change anything, because we're going to run into that problem where we're not able to obtain consensus. I'm just wondering, maybe that's like something to look at down the line, if we're able to operate with the things that we have within the Arcos direction, like at the very minimum. Because like, let's say, like, and maybe Stefan can maybe you can chime in on this. Let's say we come across certain things that are not able to meet the definition within the guidebook of Arcos. Would we still be able to kind of function and meet and get to the expectations?
Sorry, I think I didn't understand completely. Could you say it again with different words? Maybe.
Let's say
Or
we
an
don't
example.
meet. Let's say we don't meet certain definitions required by Arcos. We're not like certain things are not defined. Is there like workarounds, or it's like sort of like an impasse? If you don't have a definition for that, like then there's like all of these things that aren't available and it's not functional.
I think you cannot say it like this. I think Arcos is just a framework that wants to remind you of what you should define. So, but if you say this definition doesn't make sense for us, or we don't want to define this, we want to keep it implicit, yeah, that's up to you. That you can do that. That's fine. But there are reasons usually why Arcos says you should define this and that. So it makes it explicit and it makes it very clear to everyone. So it prevents conflict in the long term. But Arcos doesn't say, oh, if you don't do this, if you don't define this, then you cannot define other things. I mean, this is not how it is. You need to choose what you want to define and also the priority of what to define. And optimally, Arcos says define everything because that will make you safe or resilient for conflicts. Does it answer your question? I'm not sure if I.
Yeah, of course, it does. It's like the more we're meeting, the more we're talking about it, the more I'm beginning to understand.
Yeah, it's not so easy to understand. I'm still working on how to communicate Arcos best so people don't feel early rejection against it, because it's a very free framework, and it doesn't mean to restrict or constrain communities. It's more like empowering them to make their own decisions and make things very clear inside of them.
Yeah. Okay. Well, so where were you guys going with this? Like your suggest. What was the suggestion for the membership states?
After we open the documents for the membership states for the proposal, so we can finish that proposal. I think that would be a really good goal for today, to finish at least that proposal and maybe start working on the roles proposal. And we should maybe create a list of ideas. So I heard from Boris reducing the trial membership length to 3 months. That's a separate proposal, I would say. And also defining the onboarding process, or I don't know how you want to call it, but I call it now the transition process or transition protocol from being from being a trial member to becoming a full member. So what do you need to do? Which steps do you need to go through? What is the process in this transition? How do you become a full member? So this would be for me also a separate but very important definition. Yeah, and we need to separate somehow, because otherwise we go into rabbit holes and it will be very exhausting and we will lose our focus. So my suggestion would be to focus now on the membership states as one thing. We can mention some transition things, and we can mention maybe a reduction of the trial membership length. Yeah, but I wouldn't go into detail there. I would see that as a separate thing, as a proposal, and we can maybe all agree on this. I mean, you can all agree on this, excluding myself, and then we can look at the next thing. And I think then we can look at the proposal for the 3 months reduction, which is very important too. And then we can look at the that should be a very short thing, I guess, because it's probably one sentence. And then we can look at the process of the transition from trial to full member. So I don't know if you agree, but I find it a very good structure and a good separation of concerns.
Okay, sounds good. So we go on to the member state document, the Word document. I think we stopped where we had that table there.
Yeah, exactly.
State transitions triggers. That's where we stopped.
Who wants to open it? Shall I open it, or does someone else want?
Well, I think we all have editing, so like whatever you're editing, we'll see it live.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, you can all open it and we can see it. Perfect. Good. So yeah, what the goal was for today also to define here which roles everyone can hold, which state can hold which roles. I think that's very important. And in the beginning of the call also, I took that note that Boris said something about volunteering volunteers. So we could also think quickly about if that's a separate state or if they are trial members or if they're just external, which would be also fine. But I think that should be discussed quickly so we can finish this.
Yeah, good point, because that used to sort of be like the applicant stage, but should we make a separate application or?
Yeah, I to separate the concerns here as well. I think an applicant is someone that actually applies to become a member, no? And being a trial member is part of the requirement of becoming a full member. But as a volunteer, you don't need to apply, no? Do you? Or do you? Is that a separate application? Maybe you are applying for a membership.
One application for people to volunteer. Yes, there's one application when people want to come as either a volunteer or a guest, and they fill that out, and it's quite detailed. So it could actually be fairly similar, but maybe a little bit different because it's a membership application. Yeah, I think it should be different and should be easy enough to make it.
Perfect. So this would be a membership applicant, no? That we're defining here. I added it now here in the states table. Are you agreeing with this change? So that it's not an applicant anymore, it's a membership applicant, because you also have the volunteering applicants, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And I think as we call this membership states, I think a volunteer is not needed in here as a separate role. It doesn't need to be a membership state because they have nothing to do with memberships. No? So a volunteer is a volunteer. They can fill out the membership applicant form, yeah, and go through that process. So then they would be here. But until that point, they would be just external, right? Is that correct? Can I summarize it like this?
Yeah, I think that visitors and guests and volunteers can be external. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Then I will add here a sentence. So it's very explicit. Yeah. Visitors and volunteers are external external states. That's not a good English sentence. Let me know if you have a better idea how to say this. Visitors and volunteers are counted to or counted as external.
Those are external states.
External? Yeah.
They have an external. They have their state is
Members?
not member. External.
Proper English. Okay, whatever.
Volunteer application is separate to the membership application mentioned above. A is only or an accepted volunteer application only grants the applicant to be a volunteer, not a membership, or not a, or just like this. What do you think, guys? I'm writing this, but you need to agree. You need
Yeah,
to
it's
define
pretty.
this.
It's good. It's I mean straightforward.
Makes it clear, no? Yeah, it makes it clear, no? So volunteers follow a different process, and they're just volunteers until that point, but they can apply for membership if they want to, and then they become a membership applicant. Until that point, they're here. You see my selection? Probably not, no? So they're in the external row.
Yeah.
Perfect. That's amazing. So we got really forward with this. So then, so which roles can you hold as an applicant? Does it make sense to define this now, or should we first do this after defining the roles?
I think we defined the roles more or less already. So yeah, let's go ahead with this.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, we can also make changes. Nothing is in stone, so we can maybe fill it out, as we say, with the roles we have. If there are any new roles, we can improve this definition here. Sounds good. So which roles can you have as a membership applicant? So that's the people that applied, like as soon as they applied in the membership application form, they get in this state. So even if they're already at Fruithaven physically, can they take over any roles, or do you want to prevent?
Yeah, no, I don't see a problem with them like taking a role like of doing some social media posting, like managing social media, or doing like a nursery, or like I don't see an issue with that. What do you think, Boris?
Yeah, I think that's okay to collaborate with external, no problem.
Okay.
I guess we just have to think of what's the real benefit to be a member, because maybe we can have members that aren't owners, and so we'll have to think what's the draw to be a member. I guess it's like a little private club, maybe.
Well, the person in the role, they have like some authority on decision making. Like I think we'll define their decision making, but they don't have that same decision making as a member would.
Gotcha. Yeah, makes sense.
So that would be the benefits of being a member, full member.
But they, for example, could not be a hospitality manager. You also wrote here nursery manager, so they should not be able to manage the nursery. No, they can work maybe in the nursery, but they should not be a manager of it. Also, not a project manager, I guess. Actually, you also defined here the volunteer as a role, which is an interesting thing. Yes, that's a really good thing, I guess. So actually, you can maybe only have that volunteer role as an applicant. And that defines whatever work you want to give them. That's maybe interesting, no? They would also not be a social media manager. They would not get probably the account information, I would guess, to post things on their own, but they could still create some posts and post ideas and send them to you.
In the past, we had volunteers that had access to the account, but I think no more because of the hacking risk. But I mean, maybe we can put a limitation saying like, you can manage like with consultation of an actual member or something like this, like not like a sole decision making, but like approved decisions.
Well,
like this must go forward with approvals.
For social media, you mean?
for anything, anything.
Oh.
Like let's say like it's a nursery management manager, right? And they want to sell all the plants, for example, right? Well, that kind of decision might be better to have an approval of a member.
Makes
Yeah.
sense. Or owner or something, yeah.
Makes sense. I also see just
Member
now I
would be
was
better.
reading it wrong. You don't have the volunteer role in here. You have a volunteer coordinator. There's just a unfortunate break in this row. So maybe it's a good idea to add volunteer as a role and say, okay, you can be volunteer as an applicant, as a membership applicant, but nothing else. And as a volunteer, you can define here as a volunteer, you can work on social media, you can work in the nursery, you can work in hospitality, you can work together with CA managers and maybe even with the accountant, but you will not become an accountant, you will not become a CA manager, you cannot become a hospitality manager, and so on. What do you think about this?
Yeah, let me ask something. Okay, so we said that owner is not a role, so I removed that. So then if there are, okay. So you said that only volunteers can be applicants. That to me is a little confusing because what if there's a owner who never volunteered and they want to become a membership applicant?
No, that's not what I mean. That's not what I said, I think. Maybe I was not clear with this. I mean, so if we go to the document before of the states, we said there just now that a volunteer is something separate and they're actually external. Okay, and that's fine. That should stay like this, maybe. But what I said is we could add a role in the other document, in the role explicitness and operational, and that role would be just volunteer. Okay, so, and this would be the only role a volunteer, like an external, could have as a in the external state.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
It's just do you
So
understand
yeah,
what I mean?
so
Maybe
someone
that's an
that's
idea. So people can work on everything, they can be part of everything, but they cannot be a controlling role. They cannot manage things. They cannot decide
Well-
to sell the entire nursery because they cannot be a nursery manager, for example.
Okay, so let's go maybe quickly through my experiences. So we offered, at least this was in the past, and people would become managers. So for example, one other manager I forgot is a workshop manager. So we used to have this guy named Tim. He was a workshop manager. He was not really a volunteer. He was basically just kind of a guest, renting a room. He did some work here and there on the garden, and then the workshop management position we needed to fill, and he got it. Before that, it was Graham. Before that, I don't know. I guess didn't exist. Now another example, maybe Nick also might remember Radha. At one point, she was a nursery manager as well. So, but those are like sort of contracts that Peter would, draft and print and then have them sign it and witness sign it and stuff. So it was very specific enough for like, okay, you get this percentage and you get this and that. So maybe it doesn't have to be a manager name. Like maybe it just can be, I don't know, a worker, nursery worker. I don't know. But manager, I guess it just gave them a nice kind of feeling. But maybe there's still someone higher than them, like the owners, the members, or whatever. Like a supervisor maybe would be higher, So
I think that would make sense. Yeah, that there's just workers. They could you can still give them certain responsibilities, which is fine, but you can define also that certain decisions need to be confirmed by a manager.
Supervisor or member, maybe, member could be higher. Member, so
yes,
okay. But those roles are primarily at FH1. I guess the projects could kind of be anywhere. And community area, do we have three of them at this point? So yeah, I guess it just needs to be members that kind of are, belong to that property or something. But maybe it could be any member. I don't know. Yeah, good questions, good thoughts. But
Yeah.
so if I understand, just wanna come back. So the membership states, we basically are done, and we can present these kind of like what do you call it? Propose basically to say, okay, we don't have it well enough defined, and we've been working for a few weeks, and so I'm still thinking. I know Tim last week said like, oh, we emailed a bunch of times, but I still think that we should send an email in, just as a courtesy in the beginning to all the owners.
Yeah, of course. No, we keep them informed. That's the official method of communication. We send emails. We don't necessarily need to block ourselves with these emails, but transparency is good. Inform the people, inform the owners, like the stakeholders, and and say what we're going to do. We'll keep it transparent. And if somebody starts like causing an issue about it, then we invite them to cooperate and show up to the meetings where we coming up with these solutions.
Good. So yeah, I think this is productive. We have this. Maybe I'll work on composing some sort of email, or what your thoughts are, how to proceed from this point. And
yeah. Well, it looks like we still have like a few tables here. No, there's like there's obligations for each state, and there's state transition triggers that we need to complete.
Exactly.
Oh, we don't need to complete them.
I see, because you guys were talking about the
complete them
role.
as much as you can.
Did we move on to talk about role explicitness, or does that tie into the membership state somehow?
The roles?
So
Sorry, what did you say?
started to talk about roles, and so I'm just wondering, does that tie in somehow? Maybe I'm just a little bit confused. So you were talking about the roles, about the volunteers and managers.
I will share now my screen. Yeah, I will share now my screen so I can explain why and how these things are intertwined. So now you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, so we are here in the membership states proposal that we created last time. And here we list all the states. So we have the membership applicant, trial member, full member, and so on. And this row, this column here is missing. So can hold roles, like we need to define, or we should define, which roles can a membership applicant take, which roles can a trial member take, which roles can a full member take. Here we have already the answer. We can, a full member can take everything, all roles that exist, all roles that are defined here in this table, the definition table of roles. So to complete this, I think it would be very important to define what roles can a membership applicant take. If there's none, that's also okay. We can write in there none. And as an external, maybe also none. But we talked about the volunteers, which are also external people, which we define here, visitors, and volunteers are counted as external members. And we could say here, because you said they can take on several roles, like they can work, the volunteers, we can maybe add here another role, which is just called volunteer. And what purpose does it have? They can, for example, work on different parts or work on different roles, but never as a manager, for example. And you can say certain.
maybe they can,
Recognitions need to-
maybe
yeah.
we can say that they can assist these roles and be like
Super good, yes.
interns or something like that, you know, internships.
Mhm. Perfect. Yeah, that's much better. Work as assistant
Another word
to
that's been used pretty well that I find repeating is fellowships.
sorry, say it again. I didn't hear. Somehow my connection breaks sometimes.
There's another word that's
Sorry.
commonly used that I come across. It's a fellowship.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you can define it as you like. If you prefer fellowship, write it in. You would call the name fellowship, or you would mention it here. Work as assistant to above mentioned roles.
I mean, I don't mind either or, like internship, assistant, fellowship, like whatever.
Okay. Assistant. Yeah, we can.
Well, then that might be a separate role. Maybe that could be a separate role in the future or something, for example. But maybe for simplicity, yeah, like internship and fellowship, whatever. But maybe for now, we could just say they can volunteer, and then if someone serious comes along that wants to engage in, you know, help and do all that, then we can move. Then we can make maybe new roles, for example. I don't know, just to keep it, because now I understand why we're doing the role. Because to me, I was like, why are we working on these roles? It didn't really make sense. Like the last meeting we had about it, I was like, yeah, okay. I mean, I defined that already. We have this manager, that manager, but now I think I understand a little bit better why we need to define those.
Yeah, they're a little bit intertwined, which is also part of the reason why I wanted to talk about these two separate things together. Yeah, because there's because of this because they're intertwined a little bit. There's an overlap. Yeah. No
Okay,
authority.
so
Decisions need to be made by by supervisor manager.
okay.
How do you write it? So is that okay for everyone? I don't want to tell you what to write, but
yeah. No, I like it.
proposing
The
those
only
things.
thing I like it. The only thing is like, if we talk about supervisor, if we talk about fellowship, internship, then maybe we'll have to kind of define those as well potentially. And you know, maybe it's gonna become too many. That's what I'm concerned. Like having, it's like, oh wait, what is the difference between a supervisor? Well, I don't know. Yeah, because it might be an option for a volunteer to become a manager, but I don't know. But for now, it's kind of, I don't think we're concerned at the moment. So maybe we just keep it simple and yeah, but that's fine. If you think it's fine to keep that wording there, we can kind of work on it later as well.
Okay, yeah, as you wish. We can also leave the word manager here only instead of supervisor, because here we use everywhere manager. We didn't use the word supervisor, so that makes it more clear.
Oh, actually,
Need
or
to be made by
coordinator.
manager. Yeah,
Because
okay,
the
yeah,
coordinator is here, yeah.
Exactly. That's good.
There's also like accountant, finance. Okay. Does that make sense? Because your thing says communal finance, some other word I forget. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, it's in the first row. Communal finance and accountant.
No, but in your document it was different. Let me see if I can find your document. No, it's not this one. Oh, it is that one actually.
Until you found it, quick question: is there a limit for being a volunteer, or is it unlimited? You can be basically your whole life a volunteer without any problems, or is there a minimum?
I don't think. Well, I think it was, we tried to do like no less than 1 month, but even if someone wants to volunteer for like a week or a couple of days, I don't know. It's okay.
Okay, so there are no limitations.
Not that I can think of. Do you think anything, Nick?
Limitation to what? Being a volunteer?
Yeah, like a minimum length or a maximum length to be a volunteer.
Time length.
I mean, if the person is volunteering, they're putting in the hours and they want to keep doing it, and that's how they want to do it. I don't see an issue of limiting, unless like we're running out of space or something. Like that's like a issue. Maybe like once we have like a lot of rotation, and there's like only this limited amount of space available to host, then maybe like we can limit the amount of time a person can be volunteer. But
Mhm.
for now,
Okay.
Well, yeah,
Like,
for now there's a
yeah.
lot of space,
So
so
this-
we can find some tent space somewhere. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, perfect. Sounds great. So, and I added here also selection method would be volunteer application form, and then consent, consent-based decision.
The consensus, yeah. It used to
Consensus
be
or
like we would
consent?
send, we used to use I think, oh yeah, maybe it is a consent. Well, I think it's just the wording was like consensus, but maybe it's the same thing. I don't know.
Consent and consensus are two different things. So consensus is everyone has the road, needs to define either I agree, I disagree, I block it, or I stay aside. If there's one blocker, it's over, and the blockers are more flexible. So you can basically, with a consensus, say, I block this because I don't like it. While with the consent-based, that's the sociocracy, the dynamic governance approach, where you have to have a really critical blocker, and if it's safe enough to try and good enough for now, then it goes through. So these are the big differences. There's more differences if you go deeper into it. I'm not saying this is all, but on the basis, on the fundamental way of how to see these things, I think that describes it best. So yeah.
Yeah,
I can also leave this away, or
I like the consent. And then should it be specific to, let's say, members, or who would kind of make the decision on it?
okay, yeah, consent-based decision between members, full members.
Yeah.
Here we also have now here also the membership states play a role, so they're really intertwined. We can see so. So full members, nice, perfect. Okay, then I would say we have this volunteer role defined. We can go back, and we can say for sure an external person can be a volunteer, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I think Nick, are you? Oh, okay. Maybe he just closed the document. But what else was good? Oh yeah. So I think, yeah, one last thing I was just thinking before we move to the maybe next thing. So the selection method for volunteers, consent-based decision between full members. I don't know if it's worth putting, or it's yeah, just because we always kind of would share it with owners. So let's say some owner, maybe they just want to be made aware, or maybe they even want to make some input. You know, it would be good to have, I think, to just, yeah, say like, well, share it with owners that wish to kind of see the application or whatever. And if they want to give some input, but then maybe the decision is still consent-based decision between full members. What do you think?
Okay, so if I say it now with my words, what you just said, just it will be clear that I understood. So if someone applies, you would send, for example, an email to everyone, including owners or non-members, just residents.
In the past,
and
yeah,
they
we used
can
to
give
share.
their opinion, but it doesn't count, right?
Actually, yeah, that's right. We actually used to share it with people that were, let's say, other volunteers that were there maybe here for over a month or so, or even shorter. We used to share it with people that are around here to see like, okay, you think this is nice, this person, kind of just to give some more input. And there's a list. We have a list of owners. Not all of them want to be on the list. They don't care to maybe get the emails, but those that do want, and we always give the option like, if you don't want to be on this list, just let us know. We'll take you off, and we don't forward you that email. And so
Okay.
it's only a handful. I don't know how many, like 10, 20 people maybe.
Okay. Then we can say here application will be sent to the mailing list for all to the Fruithaven mailing list.
Which is, yeah, like owner, let's say. I would say like to the Fruithaven, maybe owner mailing list.
Okay.
I don't know if it's too wordy, too much info or not. I don't know.
Yeah. I think when we have when we get there, we could create an entire definition of the entire process of becoming a volunteer. And optimally, we would go back here into this table and say, see process of volunteer application. You know, where you have more detail. That would be the best. But as we don't
Then
have
we
this
can-
at the moment, we can just describe it a little bit, and we can leave it like this. That's fine.
Okay,
It's
sounds
good.
good.
But we don't need to go into that rabbit hole now. I think it's another process. It's another big thing, I guess.
Okay,
so
that's what I would know now, that there is something else that we can kind of go into deeper parts about. Okay, good.
Exactly. Yeah, we can add that also as here as a note. Or how did I call it in the other tab here? I think that was a good way to say it here. This one. So further ideas will be defined in future decisions. Volunteer application process. This will be a separate definition, proposal. Sorry. Yeah, is that good for you?
Yeah, that looks good.
Perfect. So we have that. Let's go up here again. So I added here as a membership applicant, you can be also a volunteer. As a trial member, you can be a volunteer, I guess. A full member can have any, once older than 18. I don't know if you want to keep this. That was just an idea last time. Then exited member can also be a volunteer, no? Someone that left the community. And external. Actually, I don't want to throw everything around now, but I think this makes also sense. No, it could be both exited member or external. That I had that idea a few days ago. I don't know if you agree, but then I think there's no big difference between these two. I think you become external once you're exited, to keep it even simpler.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Nice. Okay. And are there any roles? If we go back to the roles,
Nick, if he likes that idea as well.
Who?
What's the idea?
So the idea was we had here two rows, one for exited member and one for external member, but I merged them now together because I think realistically there is no big difference between those. Once you are an exited member, you are basically external.
Yeah. Is it important to, because like the way we currently have we have like volunteer / guest, and the difference is that guest just doesn't do contribution hours. Like this one, that doesn't have to log them in.
So a limit, no, not in term length, but in here in limits would be you have as a volunteer contribution hours, no?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have that concrete?
Yeah, 20
How many
hours.
Okay, contribution hours of 20 hours per week. Yeah, and then we can actually, when you say that, we can add another row below and say guest. And you cannot work. Can you work or can you not work as a?
You can work
you take
if you
over
want.
volunteer roles? Okay. So also this here, work as an assistant fellowship internship, above mentioned roles.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, the difference is that they can do everything that volunteer does, but they just don't have the contribution of 20 hours a week. Yeah,
Okay,
they don't have to do that. Yeah.
that's awesome. So we can do it like this. No, you can take over volunteer work, defined above.
Yeah.
Volunteers have no authority. Guests have no authority, I'm guessing. And
Yep.
decisions need to be made by manager. Yes, also. And then here explicitly, no contribution hours per week.
Should we say that it's like expected contribution for the volunteer, or it's not really necessary?
It's already in the limits
Okay.
column,
Gotcha.
so maybe it's clear. I'm not sure, but if you want to make it explicit, I think it's even better if you want to make it explicit. Yeah, then do it. Go for it. Right.
Like if they get less than we used to kind of deduct certain, like was it security deposit, but then we kind of started to say, well, maybe we don't care as much as long as they pay a certain amount. So is that something also in the limits, like how much they pay, or that's kind of defined elsewhere, maybe? Or
How much
probably
they
better
pay?
to, yeah, like the monthly payment, things like that. I guess it should probably be elsewhere. Like let's say the costs, all that kind of stuff. I think should be somewhere else. It should be defined. I think. Otherwise, we have too much stuff in this little table.
Okay. Yeah. Quick question. A volunteer needs to pay as well.
Yeah. It was used to be like $10, and then if they don't do 20 hours, then it would be deducted every hour. But now, then we came up with the idea that like we won't monitor, like we'll suggest 20 hours, but we don't monitor. Like, oh, have you worked 18 hours, 19 hours? And then we'll just charge $100 a month, and that was good enough.
Okay.
I think it's better. What I was doing is I asked them to log what they did, and maybe take a picture, some sort of like visual or notes.
Proof of work.
Yeah, any kind of picture, video, or like simple logs. Log explain what you did.
Well,
Like,
yeah, that's how we used to do it back. Yeah, like, but then it's like it made me feel bad. Like, oh, they didn't complete the 20 hours. Maybe they did 19. Like, at what point do we, and then what Peter used to do is like he would have a certain, I don't know what it was for every hour. Let's say, I think at Terra Frutis, what they do is every hour is 250, like same as, average Ecuadorian wage, 250 an hour. So let's say you miss 1 or 2 hours, then you pay either you pay, I don't know, cash or from the security deposit or whatever. It'll be like it comes out of the somehow. So it's like, well, okay, you only did, let's say, 19 hours, you pay 250. You only did 18, you pay $5. So it's like, but then it's a kind of feels like nickel and diming. So then I decided let's try just do $100 a month, and then we don't care. You want to do 10 hours, you want to do 5 hours, you want to do 15, it doesn't matter how many. Like you can still log it if you want. You can, maybe we would deduct or what's it called, like pay you back or something. I don't know if they did like really consistent 20 hours a week. But yeah, that's just been my experience because I've done it, I don't know, at least how many, 2, 3, or 4 years. I don't know how long it's been. But
okay, it sounds like a bigger thing to decide. Shall I add it here in further ideas that will be defined in future decisions?
Yeah.
And yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think
just a quick suggestion, just like because it's like that's one way of doing it. The way I was doing was like I asked them to log, and I don't like I'm not gonna like police it. I make it an honor system, so they log what they did, and I ask them to do 20 hours, and they're responsible for, like, if they're missing, if they logged in and they said, oh, I'm missing an hour, I'll finish it next week. I leave it up to them to do it. It's an honor system. I'm not necessarily like policing anyone.
Yeah. So maybe what can be, because we have so many people with, let's say, properties and different community areas, it's basically, we could say it's up to the volunteer coordinator of that specific. Because let's say I'm the coordinator at FH1, I can decide, okay, well, yeah, I don't care, but then the rate may be decided by the coordinator and things like that.
Okay. Over payment,
Or-
work, contribution.
Or just general anyway. A bit, I guess they can decide anything, they decide the costs,
also the 20 hours per week as well.
I don't know. Yeah, what do you think, Nick? That sounds like we can maybe it's even a suggested thing. We could say suggested. I don't know. Suggested contribution.
It's not that we don't care. We do care. Okay, and the people that do come here as well as volunteers, I guess they care as well. So, like, by making it an honor system, you're keeping the expectation, and it's like their responsibility. So no, we do care, but it would take extra resources to police it. Like, for example, counting it, then running after them for that $2. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you,
it
wasn't okay. This may be a sidetrack, but I guess we have a few minutes, so I'll just tell you how I was doing it, Nick. At one point, we used to have them log it on a piece of paper, but then I think it was Peter or he found this app, and it was pretty simple, and we got every volunteer to just sign up to the app, and we would join them to this thing, and it was pretty easy to kind of add your hours. You can either add it manually, which at that point you're kind of trusting them that they do it correctly, or they can just like start the clock right as they leave with a machete and come back and turn off the clock, and then and it was very easy. It would show me exactly how many hours each volunteer got with the name and everything, so it was very easy for me to manage. I had, I don't know, at least 5 or more people here, so it's definitely going to be complicated without that kind of system. And then at the end of, let's say, their month or 2 or whatever, we could look at their log overall and say, okay, looks like you missed here and there a couple hours, whatever, and then we could easily say, okay, either we deduct a little or you pay, whatever. So it can be made easy, but also it can be made easier. So in my opinion, I was just like setting a minimum payment per month, and then I would do some workshops, and then I would tell them, this is what you have to do here and there, and then it's up to them to do the rest. And then I kind of like hands-off approach, and I don't, tell them to log anything, or maybe I could, but anyway, the point is, we could just conclude that I think the coordinator can decide the details, and that's it basically. So if you're coordinating in your lot, you can decide what details you want, whether there's a payment, what payment, how many hours, all that. So we can say generally it was like 20 hours a week, and then it's up to the coordinator kind of to decide details. Like I was okay, for example, I think, okay, just quickly, but it used to be the first 2 weeks we would allow them to use 5 hours, so basically 1 hour every weekday, to actually watch YouTube videos that are tutorial or some explanation about fruit trees. So that's like not really volunteer. We just gave them an easy 1 hour off every day. So instead of 4 hours, they would do 3 and sit on the computer and watch something, because we want them to learn. It was like a learning process. So anyway, moving on.
So I added this conversation now here in these 3 points. So you can decide in future decisions, like general ways of how to contribute and work as a volunteer. Also how it works with the payments contribution. Can volunteers pay for missing hours instead of working? A general volunteering minimum working hours, and general volunteering work tracking and logging. So you can define that. later on, and we can then later mention it just here. Look at the document that defines how defines the limits of a volunteer work. Okay, but for now, I think it's really good, and I think it's good enough. Maybe we should remove this policing. It sounds really weird, but I think it's clear, no? So
Yeah.
we suggested 20 hours for now, and volunteer coordinators can decide everything else. However they want to log, however they want to handle it with the payment and the minimum hours. And later we will make definitions. And maybe one of the definitions can also be that volunteer coordinator can override it, but then you can at least like talk about the general way how you want to deal with this, and maybe also set some limitations for the volunteering coordinator.
Yeah.
But yeah, to move on,
Okay.
I think it's good to note it and to do that, to define it in another meeting in the future. Do you agree?
Yeah, I think it makes sense.
Awesome.
Sounds good.
Right. Okay, then yeah, I added here also can hold roles. The membership applicant can be a volunteer and a guest, the trial member as well, but nothing else. And also exited members and external members can volunteer and be a guest. Nothing else, right? I'm remembering now that I say nothing else, that you have an external accountant.
Right. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking
So
of
maybe we add this also here. So an
of the
external
accountant,
member can also be. Yeah.
regarding the accounting, yeah, I finally found your document. So it said finance steward. Is that just a different way of saying it?
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah, however you want to call it, but it's the same, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you need a separation there, you can also define the separation. It's just a different wording of things. Like maybe one thing is accounting, and another one is like being the steward of the general financing within the community, which takes care of expenses, maybe gives permissions for expenses for certain projects, handles all of these things, which you maybe don't want an external person to take over. You know, if you need that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but for now, I think it's okay, and you can add that later.
Yeah. Accountant. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Then this sounds really good now. For now.
Maybe not necessarily accountant, but like what do you call those? Audit or something?
Bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Oh, bookkeeping. Yeah.
Okay. That sounds really good. So financial bookkeeper instead of communal finance accountant.
Yeah, maybe that's better. If we need like someone to do an audit or I don't know.
But then we need to add this also here in the role definition. No, then it's different to the communal finance accountant, right?
Unless
Okay, then we do that.
unless we're doing too much and kind of like keep it simple and not bother. I don't know. What do you think, Nick?
About what? Like what was if I'm not
Oh,
I'm not sure.
okay. So right now he's doing the exited member external roles. So what can somebody that's either exited or external, what kind of roles they can hold, like volunteer or guest? And he's adding like something could be a financial bookkeeper, but I don't know. Maybe we just don't bother adding anything other than because the initial proposal, maybe it's best to kind of keep it simple, but or maybe it is good to add. I don't know.
Yeah, the main question is if there's a difference between a communal finance accountant and a financial bookkeeper. That's the only question, I think. If there's a big difference between these two and you need both roles, then I would strongly suggest to add this new role as well. But if it's the same, then leave it like this.
Yeah. Well, for the roles, I was thinking maybe might be a good idea to just name what we don't want an external member to have, which role we don't want an external member to have, and then all the other roles could be open.
So that's a lot, I think. You don't want external members to be a CA manager, hospitality manager, external nursery manager, project manager, volunteering coordinator, social media manager, meetings organizer, facilitator. No, that's a lot more.
No, yeah, exactly. What I'm saying is there might be a role that like is like a sensitive one, like for example, the finances. That could be like a sensitive role. We don't want anyone outside of the community doing it, you know. Or maybe we do, like actually, like we who knows? Like if they don't have, if it's like a finance steward, bookkeeper, whatever. If it's like a bookkeeper, they don't have access to the funds, you know. So an external role occupying it is fine, but somebody who has access to the funds, that should be internal.
Yeah, I think
Okay, so
the
there
only
is a difference between these two.
I think the only circumstance that I can think someone would do something with that is either, yeah, like a bookkeeper, like you say, or maybe some kind of audit. Like maybe there's a dispute, like, oh, this and that. Like maybe we need somebody external to come in and sort of be a facility or a mediator kind of. But maybe that's what I'm thinking. Like, is it too many details for this initial proposal, or is this still important, do you think, for the initial proposal?
No, it's good. Like I would be like maybe worried about like workshop manager also being external, because there's like high value equipment, for example, chainsaws, like weed whackers, you know, these kind of things. So like for example, you don't want to put maybe a neighbor managing that, or no, maybe a neighbor is fine, but someone who's, you know, who could just like disappear, you know.
Yeah,
That
well,
person
but that's
should be managing.
so just to go back, what Stefan is saying, that nobody except for members can be any of these roles, like managers. So for example, a volunteer can assist the manager to, let's say, do something with hospitality or community area or nursery or project management or a volunteer coordination or social media manager, or any of these roles. They're only allowed to be a member. So if somebody wants to be, from this proposal, we would say they have to become a member, and the member process, I guess we'll discuss it about a little bit later. Is that correct, Stefan?
Yes, absolutely. You summarized it well.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have any issues so far. Like
so in the past,
we're following the work. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. Well, anyway, just quickly. So in the past, we allowed other people. We kind of, like Peter had contracted, whoever to do, what was it, like nursery management. He had Rada or whatever, workshop management. He had to Tim or Graham. None of them were members, because really the only member was me, and nobody else wanted to become. I guess Peter maybe was a member, so maybe it would be good to like actually sort of exit him, or maybe with this proposal we sort of like say, okay, there are no members. The past system was just FH1. Let's just come up. This is a new system for members that there is no members at this point, basically.
That bylaws document is not written just for FH1. It's like it's sort of like written. Like the wording there is weird, but because it refers to community-wide doctrine, and it says like certain things precede one and the others don't, and then there's even like some typos as well, like it's repeated twice. So I mean, the way it's worded is weird. It's not just for FH1; it's for all of Fruithaven, but it was started at FH1.
Yeah, because it has the top. It's specific details like FH1, this many hectares, blah blah blah, and like so it was. I thought it was very specific. Maybe he wrote it before the other Fruithavens kind of started, or something. But anyway, whatever. Yeah. So I guess we can sort of assume this document is, not very accurate, not very useful to us, and sort of try to make this system moving forward, and propose it to everybody.
Yeah, it just needs like a little bit of corrections and adjustments, because there's literal typos in it as well. It's still valid. And it's good. There's like some good stuff in there. It's like a good attempt, and we're refining it.
Exactly. Okay, to get back to this question here that blocks us currently for finishing these proposals. So is there a difference between a communal finance accountant and a financial bookkeeper? Do you see that only one of them can be done by an external person? Or is it the same? Or you don't mind at the moment and we can keep one just to move on? That's also an option.
Yeah, I don't really mind external contributions on any of these roles, except maybe one or two. And this is what I was asking, like maybe we could agree on, like which roles do we not want to be externally managed?
Yeah,
Or else I'm
actually
okay with anyone.
all of them except volunteer and guests. Because you can manage maybe the workshop as a volunteer, but you still need to make final decisions with the workshop manager. You know, this is the difference. So here we define decisions need to be made by a manager or coordinator. Volunteers cannot do that. So now the only question is now about the accountant and the bookkeeper. If you want to open that up for the external or not, because these are closed for the external, we said, all of them. Like only by full members, they can be taken. This is how I understand it, at least.
Yeah, I think like a bookkeeper that you get from Fiverr or somebody like external is fine. I don't have a problem with that.
Okay, and is the bookkeeper the same as a communal finance or accountant?
Well, the way I understand finance, communal finance, it would be like someone who is cash holding, who is holding funds. So that that shouldn't be external unless there is like some sort of contract agreement, something that is legally binding.
Okay, so I added here then cash holding and communal treasury management as a purpose. Is that correct?
Okay,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Okay, good. And then this one is here only like tax stuff, no?
Because
Tax accounting.
from what I know about bookkeeping, it's kind of like just data entry, and there's not really much else. So maybe tax, but we don't really have anything to do with tax. Like we want to pay the tax, you go to town. Anybody I think can pay it. I'm not sure. So maybe
Okay, so
this data entry.
Yeah. So income and expenses tracking. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Or would you define it better? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good.
Yeah, exactly. Balance sheet.
None. And this one would be approve, like e.g. No, let's do it concrete. Approve payments or expenses, right?
Yep. Payments and expenses, like investments, sales.
Perfect. Investments also?
Yeah, I imagine like, let's say there is land acquisition, that's an investment.
Okay, good. And what about I just had another thing in mind, but I'm not sure anymore what it was. Improve expenses and investments. They can view the communal treasury, of course. Treasury, is that how you write it? Yeah, I think so. So they can see the balance, view the balance and transactions of communal treasury limits. Do you want to define any limits?
What comes to your mind for this, for the limitations?
Yeah, for example, expenses need to be also approved by other members. There need to be some sort of voting before, because at the moment we give this person the authority to invest with whatever they see in the communal treasury. So maybe you say expenses over $100 need to be approved by the decision-making voting or something like this.
I think
that is one.
I think it should be, let's say, the approved budget or something, like for specific projects. Well, I don't know. Yeah, it really depends. What is it? Something that they're doing for the community area? Then it might be, but maybe by the owners as well. Even, yeah. So they might still have to kind of report back, because then if you're spending money, then usually owners wanna know what's happening.
Okay.
Whoever that
How
owner
would you-
is.
Well,
Yeah.
something under $100 makes sense. Like, let's say, I don't know, you wanna change the water filter. You know, that's like, what is it, $20? Or no, sorry, it's $5 for a water filter. Or you wanna refill, you wanna get fuel or repair equipment, right? Like, that makes sense. Like maintenance, we do acre maintenance. These are small expenses. Like it makes sense to have like some freedom to make these sort of decisions under a certain amount. But I think $100
Okay,
is the
but
standard, but it might be less here.
Yeah.
Okay, I see, like, we're going there also in a rabbit hole. Shall we, like, my suggestion would be to say it needs to be discussed. We write in here and we
Yeah,
add it
yeah.
here to the list, and we make
I
a
think-
separate
It
meetings
has to
about
be.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be a separate document, because it's like, well, I don't know. Okay, I guess it actually does say communal. So do they, if it's communal, like this specific to that community area, there's still the owners will want to know how things are being spent, generally.
Yeah. Okay. So limits of communal finance, and accountant. Define like budgeting, spending limits, voting, proposals, etc. That's good for you, for everyone.
Yeah.
Just to move forward with
Mhm.
things,
Yeah.
because
Yep.
this seems to be a big topic. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we can go into there if it doesn't take too much time, if it's not another rabbit hole. Shall we say here term length, like minimum and maximum? Because for me, that's not clear at the moment. What is 12 months is? Is it a minimum? Like you need to be this for 12 months and you cannot take it away in that time, or is it a maximum?
Oh, yeah, good point. It might be, yeah, that's a good idea to have a minimum, because sometimes it's like, well, if we're gonna have somebody trained and put everything, like we don't want to
Yeah.
have less than
Exactly.
a certain amount of time. So
Yeah. So I'm guessing these are all maximums.
The issue with imposing minimums is that you have to also sort of provide a benefit that can be removed if the minimum is not respected. And at the moment, we don't have that.
yeah, good idea to include that. But yeah, I guess again, these kinds of things probably have to be separate. This is maybe just sort of an overview document, because we're trying to fit so much information in a small area.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. But
But
yeah,
it's a good
okay.
idea.
If that needs to a specific definition as well, we can also add here, for example, minimum, and then needs definition, and we add it on the bottom to the list. And when we have it, we link it basically here. We can say, see document about minimum term length of roles.
Okay.
What do you think, guys? To move on
Yeah,
also.
makes sense. Yeah.
Then I add this everywhere.
Yeah, yes.
So max, like this. Actually, we can copy it. It's the same for all of them. Also for the financial bookkeeper, no, right? That's because it can be external. I don't know how you see that.
Right. Yeah. Maybe. Well, still needs the needs definition, I guess, but
Yeah. Okay. So
good idea.
its definition about the term length of the financial bookkeeper. So here, minimum term length of managing, coordinating roles and incentives that you mentioned, Nick. Incentives for these roles.
Well,
Maybe you
yeah,
can give some
that's a rabbit
credits
hole.
or
Incentives, like,
yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
when you
Yeah,
you
that's
know
why
what,
I
that
added
needs to
it
be defined
here.
as well. Like, we need to maybe have a document where we have, like, like, does Arcos deal with that, by the way? Some sort, like, some kind of community token or coin or something like this, that which
Not
fits.
directly, not directly. You can define it by yourself. It just says, in general, all roles should be visible. So what we're doing now, so they need to be recognized by the community as such, because otherwise you cannot. I mean, this would be the base for even having something like a coin internally. You need to recognize it first. And it also says, if I'm not wrong, that they should be somehow incentivized by something like that. So you can make a decision of how you want to do that. But it doesn't say you need to use coins or you need to use cash or you need to do anything. It's just that internal roles should not be like hidden or implicit, and no one gets any contribution because they're not recognized. So this is the only thing that is very important for Arcos. Maybe also roles of caretakers. That is maybe also a really good thing to put in here. If people are caretakers, you want to contribute maybe also some tokens later on for these people, that take care of kids or of older people, things like this. But that goes maybe too far for this meeting now, for these roles. But you can think about this in the future.
Yeah, like, I think I'd like to, at some point, we should make a little work group for defining that, the incentives, time bank, coins, whatever you call it, and how do we track those, proof of work, anything like that.
Yeah.
And that would be really cool to integrate with the volunteer thing that Boris was talking about earlier. Like, let's say you have volunteers, they're logging in their hours. Let's say they're doing extra hours. Well, that could be in exchange for the time bank coin or whatever.
Yeah, that would be cool. They could also buy fruits with these coins. You could also say, if you work like 10 hours in the first week, then, or 20 hours, you get like an achievement. Or you did a permaculture course, you get an achievement.
I love it.
Or you like things like this. You can incentivize in that way. Then maybe later, I mean, I'm talking about future stuff, but you can say, okay, you want to be a nursery manager, then you need to get the nursery manager achievement badge, and you achieve it by going through this process. Or you want to be a facilitator for consensus, you need to watch this video, you need to do that quiz, you need to do this, and this, and then you get the facilitator badge, and from then on you can do it. It's like a meritocracy. So only by contribution you gain permission to do certain things. And then you can say, okay, if you are the facilitator, then you might get tokens, more tokens than as a normal worker. So you create basically your own little economy with things based on the rules that you set. And that's a really amazing topic for me. I'm very excited about this too, but I think at the moment we're pretty far away from this still, because we need a fundamental base of what are the roles, who can take these roles, and then you can go further into detail and you can create such things like internal economies and stuff.
Oh, that is exciting. Yeah, I'm looking
Mhm.
forward to that.
Yeah, I can imagine. That's a very exciting topic. Yeah, but let's work on the dates first. So yeah, to continue with this, what are the limitations for the financial bookkeeper? Probably also need definition. No? Or do you have something in mind already? Something quick?
Financial bookkeeper limitation.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think it's just data entry, as Boris said earlier.
Yeah.
They don't like. I mean, I remember I was asking Charlotte, "Was this? Was that?" And she's like, "I don't know. That's the receipt I put in."
Okay, then I write here can operate within purpose. Within purpose, that's it. I mean, there's no limitations. None can operate within purpose. Can operate within defined purpose. That's it. Not more. That's what we're saying there. Okay, then we can remove
Yeah,
this.
no decisions, and
Then,
yeah, it's basically entry, nothing else.
yeah, perfect. Then what is the CA manager? I don't even know what it is. Maybe it's good to add here a purpose.
It's like a community area manager. It's somebody who maintains the community house and the communal land and whatever's planted on it. I think they're in charge of the security of around the community area. In charge of I guess looking at cameras.
It could be also
Lots.
things. Could also be like fixing plumbing, or could be what do you call those kinds of people? Facility
Concierge.
manager.
A
Mhm.
concierge.
Is that French?
Yeah, it's like it's something like janitor, but it's not exactly. It's um, not a butler, like
Yeah, janitor makes some sense, but anyway, yeah, it could be like various facilities, and they might overlap. Like if they might fill in the role for if there's no hospitality manager, maybe they'll fill that in. But maybe it's a bit long to put it in there. But if you can somehow find a way.
Yeah, so I will tell you what I did, but I think we need a detailed definition. Definition of work and purpose of CA manager.
what's the
So
guy
what I
that
wrote now,
works for Batman? What's his name? What's his title?
that's a butler. No?
That's a butler, the guy that's in charge of the house of Batman's house.
Yeah, yeah, he does
Okay.
everything. But if something needs a fix, I think that he doesn't always do it himself. He contracts someone,
Yeah, of course.
I guess. That's how I would imagine it. But yeah, for now I would stick with, if you don't disagree, like with security around the community area, e.g. cameras, acts like e.g. facility manager, or we can also say acts like facility manager. And I added needs detailed definition, and I also added it to the list of things that need future decisions. Good,
Yep.
everyone? Good. Authority can decide over budget, or like what would be the authority? What can they decide by themselves?
Well, it's
Basically.
like regular stuff, like I don't know, like quiet hours and I don't know, like when to do the cleaning, when to when it's like closed for visitors, like anything that's just sort of um well, I mean, like I guess also under $100, I guess decisions kind of like
Mhm.
was that previous role there that had $100 limit.
Communal finance account. Yeah, so the roles can kind of overlap. Like one person might be kind of the community area and community finance and maybe hospitality. Like at this point, obviously there's not many people, so we're kind of doing a lot of these ourselves. Like I'm probably doing multiple of these, you know.
Okay, so can we summarize it like this, or is something missing? Like they decide over regular quiet hours, when to do cleaning, closing hours and areas for guests and volunteers, spending below $100, proposals for bigger investments they can create.
There's the overlap. Maybe we can sort of just have a general rule like, okay, the community area manager might also be a finance accountant, you know, because it's kind of, if we're going to repeat. Oh, no, you didn't
But
put
that's
that in.
okay.
Okay.
I mean, roles can be taken generally by one person. Can have multiple roles. That was a weird sentence that I said, but I say it again. So one person can generally take multiple roles. I think that's the big difference between membership state, where you can just have one, and a role. You can have multiple roles, but it's also good. Maybe I also add it here. To define the limits within this. Maybe you can take up to 3 roles, because you want to prevent that someone is the almighty power person that does everything alone and accumulates that power for himself. So this would be a separate thing. You need to decide. We can add it here. But generally speaking, I think there's nothing against being like, for example, the financial bookkeeper and the CA manager, or a hospitality manager and the nursery manager. That's totally fine. The only risk is, as I said, that someone accumulates power and takes up everything. I think you had that in the past, if I'm not wrong. And that's dangerous, because they accumulate this power and you need that person for everything. And they maybe keep information for themselves. They don't share it. Everyone is relying on that person. And if they leave, then everything breaks apart. So there needs some sort of limitation of how many roles and how much power someone can accumulate. But apart from that, it's okay.
Well,
I guess.
honestly, anything that's treasury, honestly, should be hold like as a sole role, because anytime you're gonna mix like somebody holding funds and then they have other responsibilities where they're spending funds, like that's a problem, you know. Like that could be like a segue to embezzlement and like, you know, these sort of tempting situations. So I think the treasury, I don't think should be mixed with anything. Might be a challenge to achieve that, but maybe
we can add that as limits. If you both agree on that, we can say the limitation of a communal finance accountant is that they cannot take any other roles. If I understood now correctly what you said.
Yeah, well, this is just a thought that I'm having, you know. I mean, I'm okay with having like a meeting to define that, you know. That could be like a whole of a discussion.
Okay, then let's do that. So limits of communal finance accountant, blah blah blah. Here, cannot take other roles. Also, define budgeting, spending limits, voting. Yeah, is that good for you? Then this will be a topic.
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Then we'll move on. What are the limits of a CA manager? Is there anything important we need to mention? We can add this. For example, it's better in here. Spending limits below $100 are granted by default, and everything above needs proposal and voting process.
Okay, so here's my question here. So it's not a bad idea, like Nick is saying, that yeah, would have one person that's a fund financial accountant. But then now you're saying that a community area manager can also spend So maybe that's where I'm confused. And then, because I thought, like, let's say if the only person that can spend is the financial accountant, then yeah, they need to hold the other role as the financial accountant. So, but maybe if they can spend, then maybe that solves that issue. But that still doesn't solve maybe the problem that Nick is saying. You know, someone that can embezzle or whatever. But
You know what? Maybe maybe the communal treasurer holder can grant spending below 100. All right, like to any of these managers. So the manager themselves don't actually have the communal manager themselves don't actually have the power to spend below 100. They have to apply for. They have to ask the financial treasurer to give them the money, and they can give them that permission if it's under $100. Like this, we're always sort of have two people deciding.
Okay, that's a good idea. Yeah,
it's a super good idea. I love it. Yeah, and grant spendings below $100 for other managers, and then that's a default that could be written here in every manager role that they need to.
Oh, wait. I think you have it in the bookkeeper. Just put it in the other one. Yeah.
Here?
Oh wait, did you put? Oh, sorry. Okay, I missed. Yeah. Okay, good.
Okay. Everything above $100 spendings needs proposal and voting process. I mean, this is for all, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but let's make it simpler. So like this. I don't like the formatting sometimes. I don't know, it's correct. I don't know if you also struggle with it, but sometimes I do struggle with this formatting stuff. Okay, here, nursery manager, also this one, project, volunteer coordinator, and social media manager, also probably none. Meetings facilitator, yeah, if they need more pens or something. Workshop manager as well. Volunteers, no. They cannot get permission from the communal financial accountant, I guess.
They can't do anything either.
Sorry?
Be spending anything. They want they can ask maybe one of the managers to spend money, you know, to do something, but not really. They can't spend anything, right?
I understood it like this. So the CA manager, for example, says we need cameras on that path, and he goes to the communal finance and accountant person and says the cameras cost $80. Can you please grant me this budget? And they say yes, and then the CA manager goes and buys these cameras for $80 because it's below 100. But if the cameras would be like $200, then he would create a proposal for creating the cameras here and there. And then only by voting, the communal finance accountant can grant these $200 for the cameras. Is that correct like this, or would you disagree?
Wait, the last part. So I was good with you. Just the last part. Can you repeat it?
Yeah. So if the cameras are below 80, then he just goes to the communal finance accountant. He grants it, or she grants it, the money for the $80 for the cameras. And if the cameras are $200, then the CA manager needs, or the communal finance accountant manager needs to create a proposal, which is, for example, an email saying, okay, we have this project of putting cameras here and there with coordination of the CA manager, and it will cost $200. I want to set it for a vote, and then people vote. and say yes, 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 yes. We want the cameras there for $200, and then he or she grants the $200 to the CA manager to buy these cameras and to install them.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Good. And the
Mhm.
volunteer, if they want to, if they have like a proposal, they just talk to the manager, and then the manager makes the request to the treasurer. By the way, the roles of the treasurer, I think the community can have several cash holders as well. Do you think there's a problem with that?
Several communal, like this role, multiple times for multiple people.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. That's also interesting. Okay. Where do we add that? That's a good point then. We could say
That also prevents concentration of power or like
yeah,
money in the
it's
hands
really
of
true.
a person.
Yeah. Okay, this role can be taken by multiple people, multiple full members. Not only one person can take the role. Is that correct? Or do you even want to say this role needs to be taken by multiple people, full members?
Oh, yeah, I think that's ideal.
Mm-hmm. Then we can also say ideally, ideally there should be a minimum of 2 people taking this role. Okay, that's amazing. Good progress, guys.
Yeah.
So until there, everything's fine. Maybe I highlight this because it goes somehow, it's not really visible in some places. Okay, then let's move on. What about the hospitality manager? What is the real purpose of this? Do you want to define it, or is it clear to you? For me, it's not very clear what this person in detail does.
Looks like hospitality person is like coordinates the arrival of guests / volunteers, is responsible for their quarters, for their like any inquiries they have, cleanliness, I don't know, information, orientation, reception, be on call for them, be available on call during whatever hours.
Yeah, basically prepares their room and makes things ready and make sure that there's no double booking, etc.
Mhm.
Also accepts the payment, and I don't know, I guess he would give it to the accountant.
Okay, nice. Awesome. Sounds good. So what else do we have? Authority, can they decide something that is not clear? Does it need to be explicitly stated what authority they have?
Boris, what authority do have
Yeah, I
you
think
in?
the other, like basically making sure the room gets ready and everything. Just over the specific rooms that they're managing, I guess. That's the limit. Oh, I guess maybe that's the limit, yeah.
Yes,
Authority.
refuse and or redirect guests.
Mhm. What is redirecting guests?
let's say there's no room at this given place, well, they can, be redirected to FH2 or FH3 or to a private homestead lot, something like this.
So it would be like relocate. No?
Oh yeah. Also, if the person's not happy with where they are, the hospitality manager can relocate them somewhere.
Okay, so refuse and relocate guests. Does it summarize it, or is there something missing?
Boris, what do you think?
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. Let's see. Authority.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I guess trying to please the guests, but also kind of take the owner consideration, maybe. I don't know. No.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's not a authority. Is it maybe limited by owner decisions?
That makes sense.
So needs, how to summarize this? So needs approval, but for what? Like, that's difficult, no?
Approval would be like if they're relocating the guest and like they're relocating them to a private homestead lot, they would need the approval of the owner of the lot to receive that guest. Because we have some vacant lots, so technically those could be used to host people.
Like this then? Needs approval from owner for private homestead lots for relocation?
Yep.
Nice. Awesome. Okay. Then what's missing? Not so much anymore. We're doing really a good job here. The nursery manager. What's the purpose? What do they do in detail? Like giving water to the plants, for example. Yeah.
Yeah.
Watering plants.
Plants alive in stock, and sells the plants again. Also receives the money and maybe forwards it to the accounting person. I guess
the stock of what?
You can also
Which part
put
did you
something
miss?
like organization, labeling,
Yeah,
pruning, cloning,
basically
fertilizing.
keeping propagating and keeping plants alive more than watering, because that could be not specific. As long as the plants stay alive, that's and ready for selling, and then receiving funds and giving it to the accounting.
Can I summarize it like this? Shall we remove the watering of plants then?
I think keeping the plants alive is kind of the point, because watering is not always necessary. It's about keeping them alive.
Well, how about feeding? You put feeding.
I think keeping plants alive to me makes the most sense, but I don't know. Because you don't necessarily feed them. Sometimes you might, sometimes you water, sometimes you don't. I don't know.
So like this,
keeping the plants alive, organizing them, propagating, pruning, for sale, and then receiving the funds and giving them funds to the accountant, I believe.
Receiving funds from accountant and forwarding sales income.
Oh, not from accountant. Receiving the payment is what I mean. Like when people buy the plants and then giving them to the accountant. Because generally the nursery is about selling plants, and the hospitality is about renting rooms. That's kind of the point, I think.
Do you have a good definition of how to define this? I'm not sure if I understand completely.
So like if someone buys plants, they receive the money and then they give the money to the accountant, unless they are also
so forwarding
maybe a cash holder, I guess.
So forwarding sales income.
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
Accountant. Yeah, is that right? English is not my first language. Correct me if I'm wrong somewhere. That's okay.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay. Then authority. If there's something special they can decide.
Yeah, just over the nursery, I guess, whatever they're managing.
Yeah. Okay. Something specific that is not kind of implied here already.
Not that
I
I
guess
can
keeping them alive and making good decisions. Organization is already like what they do. I think that's not a specific authority. Except you disagree, I can add something if you think something's not very explicit.
Well, or organizational and stocking. In terms of like what inventory, like that's their authority is over the inventory, which plants to hold, which ones not to hold, which ones to make more of, like these sort of like managerial authorities.
Okay. Is that a word? Inventorying? Yeah. Okay. Is that correct like this?
You could just write
Organization,
inventory.
Inventory. Yeah.
You can write inventory organization.
Okay.
So yeah, we're almost
You know
done.
what stocking is?
We should try to finish for now because it's been 2 hours. It's a bit long for a
Yeah.
meeting, so maybe
Okay.
we can continue. Either we just type, like we fill it in ourselves for now, and then on Thursday we can kind of do, maybe come up with some proposal that's, because it's pretty much like just little details that really aren't crucial to finishing this proposal.
That's true.
Looks like we're
Yeah,
done
let's
though.
go maybe. Yeah, we did a good job, I think. Maybe we take like maybe 2 more minutes if that's okay to go over the things that are still missing for Thursday to finish these proposals, these two. What do you think?
Almost
Yeah.
done. 2 more minutes.
So not just to go over what's missing.
Yeah, okay.
So maybe you can meet again to finish these few things. So what's missing is project manager, authority, meetings and organizer, facilitator. What's the purpose? What's the authority? Maybe there are some certain limits that need to be defined, and that's it for the roles. I think. Let's go quickly over these questions for the community. What roles currently exist? You have those for each role. Define purpose. Yes. Selection method. Purpose land. Okay. Yeah, that's all done. But what's missing, I think, is here the handover process. This is missing still. So define required documentation, minimum overlap period, successor onboarding. So this point is missing. And how is the performance reviewed? Maybe this also, if you find this important. So these two things and the table on the top are missing for the roles. For the membership states, maybe go over the roles again, like which roles can be held, but I think it's pretty clear and good like this. But you can go over it again to see, because we added and changed some stuff in the roles. So maybe that might not be very accurate anymore. Then applications for each state. This is missing still. So what are the participation expectations for each state? Here we need to merge them as well. Also, what are the contribution requirements, meeting attendance, work contributions for each of these states? And I think that's almost it. Here, the full members. Sorry. Yeah, this needs to be removed. So the state transition triggers. Here's some missing. So how do you transition from a full member to an exited or external member? And how can you or to what can you make a transition from being an exited and external member? Probably to applicant, but you need to fill these 2 fields here out. And that's it. There's no more. Just this one table. And
We'll need a whole other hour for this. Looks like we will take another meeting. Are we still meeting Tuesday?
Thursday we meet for sure.
Yeah, I think we could do Thursday because last week I think it was a bit much to do like 3 times. Let's do it 2
Yeah,
times a
that's
week.
true. It is it is a lot. Like it's better
Okay.
community meeting on Thursday, like a general one, and then like a work
Okay.
group once a week. Unless there's like another team that wants to do on Tuesday.
That sounds great. Okay, then we continue this on Thursday. We finish it
All
up on
right.
Thursday. If we have after that hour, or if we don't use the full hour, we can already maybe decide and run decision process for each of them, for each of these two definitions.
Do you think with what we have up until now, we're able to
Mhm.
do a little bit of troubleshooting on like the issues experienced, or we still have like a way to go before being able to apply things?
How would you suggest to do the troubleshooting? Sounds interesting.
Well, let's say we're starting like noticing things that don't match within the community, like that don't
Mhm.
match to the definitions, and we kind of we start looking at those things, and like what we kind of already did, I think, in many ways, but it always comes down to, oh well, we need to apply for permissions, basically.
Mhm.
That's what we're generally limited on.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting, and we can make that a big element also of the next call, if you like. I think that's pretty good. So, if I understand correctly, so you say we look at problems from the past, for example, and how can the current definition prevent these things, but also we look at potential issues, contradictions between these proposals, and maybe also existing documents, and see if we can improve it.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Because you see, I don't know if Boris is still listening, but with this one, if we can kind of identify the problems from the past and apply the current definitions to solve these problems, then once we're making the proposal email, that could be a part of the proposal saying, look, this is what we defined so far. This is the issues we're facing in the past. This is how it solves it. So, like, what do you guys think?
Okay. I
I mean,
understand. Okay. So the troubleshooting would be like also a collection, or the outcome of the troubleshooting would be a collection of troubles you had in the past and how they solve,
at
how they
least
are solved now by.
yeah, at least the relevant ones.
Yeah, that sounds also good. Yeah, if you think that's helpful, yeah, then why not? From my perspective, it sounds helpful. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, then. So we're good
Okay,
now.
then it's good like this. Yeah, I guess so. Anything
Beautiful.
else you want to add, Boris?
Yeah, I guess if I get some time, I'll try to fill some of those things in kind of for
Mhm.
before the next meeting. So that way it doesn't take up like time just typing together and stuff. And then
Awesome. Perfect. Yeah.
finish it up and
Yeah, that's
hope
really good.
something to propose by the end of the week.
Can
Yeah,
you also
amazing.
paste? Can you also paste the whatever you filled in?
Yeah, I just wanted to say you can maybe there's two ways how you can make clear what you changed, Boris. Either by highlighting it, so you can say, okay, this text I added, and you make it like you can highlight it here with yellow, for example. Or the other way is to add here a comment. Here, comment,
Cool.
add, and you
Yeah.
just write in here, this I changed because blah blah blah, or this I added because I think blah blah blah.
Okay, makes sense.
Be really helpful, yeah, to keep track of what you changed. Then we don't need to go over everything, and you will not forget anything that you
The main
added.
stuff that was missing in the role explicitness is yeah.
Here,
There's some things maybe I could try to fill in like
if you want to add this, I would propose here just give it a color like green or something, that it's clear that you added this, and then we can go over and you remove the color. Then it's fine.
so sounds good.
Amazing. Good job, guys. I'm very proud of you. It's always a little bit sad that not more people join and participate, because I think this is a great thing what we're doing here, and it adds a lot to clarity and maintainability and structure. It's very beautiful, and maybe we can also work on that in the future, how to incentivize that more people join. We talked about this in the beginning of the call before we recorded. That might be also worth to spend a little bit of time to think about solutions there. And yeah, thank you so much for your interest and for your participation. I think we're going a really good way here. We're having a really good direction.
Nice. Yeah. Thanks for your time as well. Very good project.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Damian, thank you very
My
much.
pleasure.
Happy
I'm
to be
learning a
here.
lot.
And very productive stuff. Looking
Yeah.
forward to the next one.
Perfect. Awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
I'll send it on. Bye.
Yeah, perfect.